Welcome to Kisma and the Dark Yogi. We have a big announcement to make. The Dark Yogi is going away. Hello, this is Kisma and welcome to Kisma and the Dark Yogi, brought to you by sourcemovement.com. We're here for people who want to be radically authentic and courageously vulnerable. So whether you're a yoga teacher, entrepreneur, or leader building a tribe, we're here to get your energy and mindset positioned for success. No more stress, no more lack of energy. It's time to lead with your full potential. Our intention is to leave the world a better place than we found it and inspire you to do the same. So hey, if this message in our podcast resonates with you and you've not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to Kisma and the Dark Yogi on iTunes. And while you're at it, give us a rating and let us know what you think. If you have someone in your life that would enjoy this conversation, share it with them. Want more information about the movement? Just go to sourcemovement.com. So let's get started, and I hope you enjoy this episode of Kisma and the Dark Yogi. All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining Kisma and the Dark Yogi. Yeah, we do have a bit of an announcement, and we have a little bit of a dilemma, and we're super hoping that some of you can help us. So really glad you're here. And I've got the Dark Yogi, aka Nick Hansinger. And Nick, we've been getting a lot of emails about this Dark Yogi stuff. There's been some confusion. People want to know why you're so dark and what's going on.
Well, this has been something that's been brewing for a while now. It's got to be 6 months or more. I was with one of our teachers, and she brought this dilemma up to me of, well, your path is a little bit different than your moniker, the Dark Yogi, and sooner or later, those are not going to make sense to people anymore.
Or to yourself.
Or to myself. Yeah, it does. We'll get to that later. But as far as like putting our message out there and really helping people connect, we've got, like Kisma mentioned, we've got so many emails of people like, dude, like, what's up with the Dark Yogi? So we've known that this has been coming for a while. And when I was first told that, though, I was like, oh man, like we just launched a podcast a few months before that, and it's been something that had been around for a while. But
and I'm a little attached to Kisma and the Dark Yogi. It's kind of cool to have a podcast with the Dark Yogi, I just have to say.
It is kind of cool. But there was something that really hit me, when you get that moment and you just like, it's true. Mm-hmm. And you just don't really want to own it yet or figure out what is next. Mm-hmm. So here we are. We've gotten, I think, just one too many emails and one too many conversations about that. And so it's time for a change.
Right.
So to that end, we are doing away with the Dark Yogi. We've already taken him off of Instagram.
Oh.
And I know it's a little sad.
Yeah, the Dark Yogi.
But we're moving on now and starting to create something new for the podcast.
Yeah, because let's talk a bit, for everyone out there. If you've listened to our podcast, thank you. If you're listening now, what we really aspire to do for all of you is help you to create more light and brightness in your world, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's just in your own being, because let's get real. It starts within, right? Everything is starting within, and inner equals outer. So if your inner is dark and chaotic, chances are everything around you will be dark and chaotic. So that's our mission, really, is to help people command the reality that's nice and bright and light.
Right, absolutely. And that's the place, I think, where this title has been, just really diverging from our mission. But to give people a little bit of a history on it, if you go back to our very first podcast, episode 0.
And there's the black cat, by the way.
Where we talk.
Whenever we talk about energy, she comes around. So your animals love the frequency thing.
Where we talk about where that title originally came from. It was from my days as a yoga instructor when I was teaching yoga full time. And my propensity to just say things in class that...
Wild things.
They weren't like so wild to me.
Wild things.
But I would just I'm a truth speaker, right? So I speak truth, and that doesn't always... it doesn't always hit people the right way. And sometimes it can seem a little harsh, or it can seem like, ooh, like, can't believe he just said that. And
So in other words, it's not always namaste, everyone. Please find a child's pose.
Yeah, I was never that dude. I was just never that. I tried to be that guy for a little while, and it just
it didn't work.
It didn't work. Like, I had to be who I was, and that was who I was at the time. And so eventually, they just like, you just say these dark things sometimes. I'm like, it's really not that dark, man. It's just true. But they're like, you're like the dark yogi. And then it just kind of stuck, and it kept going, and we had some fun with it, and brought it into our podcast. But anymore, when I speak about it or when I think back to that, it literally seems to me like lifetimes ago.
Yeah.
And it feels as if I'm talking about another person. I don't know if anybody here or listening relates to that, but that's how it feels to me.
That's such a great question for all of you. Do you ever like just stop and feel like where you are right now is a different lifetime? In fact, I think we just had that conversation earlier, Nick, where I was like, oh yeah, that just really feels like a past life, something that I did in my 20s. And it's interesting, and that's what happens, when you do the work, whether it's transformational or clearing, whatever, you get to a point and you glance back and thank God, right? It's like, that was another life.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what it feels like to me, when we talk about it. And so what was happening, we'd get emails back, and they're just basically like, "What's up?" But really, I think the impetus to make a shift, like that final thing, was talking with one of our clients, and we were at the event in Maui. We did an intensive training in Maui, and we were sitting around and just talking, and this had come up about that. It's on the emails that go out and things. We have a little bit of fun with it, and she ended up getting on the phone with me to talk about Maui and talk about some other programs. And she was like, I really expected somebody totally different. When we got on the phone, you were 100% not the person that I thought you would be. And I was like, man, that's not helping us connect with the people that we really want to connect with. So I think it's just important that, that it changed.
Well, and I suppose one of the lessons is, for everyone listening, do you have this label that you've been carrying about yourself that is not a truth? Maybe it's a nickname, maybe it's just a belief, or, sort of this negative thought or chatter, and you're carrying it, but it's like, wait a minute, this isn't me, or it's not who I aspire to be.
Right. And I think a lot of times those labels are always going backwards.
Yes.
Right. They're not the forward thinking part. And I think, you bring up a really good point about the labels that we put on ourselves and the boxes that we put on ourselves into, and the ways that we accept the labels that the world gives to us. All of a sudden, your race, your body type, your gender, your all these other things.
Your religion,
right.
Who you want to be president, like all of these labels, ignore them.
Yeah, it's time to cut that out. I mean, all those things are the veils to your true identity.
Yeah, say that again.
All of those things, all of those labels are 100% the veil to your true identity.
Right.
And when you really look at yourself as the core and the essence of your being, there is an energetic signature to that soul.
That's beautiful. An energetic signature to that soul. That's awesome.
But what's cool about it, though, is you can shift that.
You can.
That's not something that's just always the same. Through the work that you do, through specific practices and techniques to raise your frequency, the energetic signature will change.
Well, and let's look at it. I mean, if any of you out there have found yourself kind of in a funk, or maybe you've been blaming people. I'm not saying you are, but let's just say if you're blaming people, you're judging people, or you're annoyed with people, do you know that actually does fracture your soul energy? So when that happens internally, you're not going to feel magnificent. But we always need to come back to that place of what we are coming, or we are an individuation of that unique ultimate energy, whether it's God or source or universe, whatever you want to refer to that unique energy as, we are individuations of. So to do whatever we can to feel that massive connectedness to that energy and to one another so that we thrive and we have confidence, we have clarity and positivity and joy. Joy is one of the highest vibrations for an emotion.
Yeah, bring more joy into your life.
It's hard to bring joy when we are plastered with labels of what other people think we should be or should be doing. That sucks.
Well, and what are you doing to the other people when you blame, judge, criticize? You're putting another label on them, and then you're making it good or bad or right or wrong. And that just doesn't feel good for anybody, right? So
yeah, I mean, I say this all the time on our webinars. If you look at children back in elementary school or primary school, how many times from the first day of school are they told this is wrong or you're bad or don't do it that way, do it this way? And all of a sudden that child who is like a massive manifester because hopefully they haven't been entrenched, in other people's thoughts. I mean, I'm hoping everybody has evolved parents. I know that's not always the case, but once the education system comes in, it's like, get into this box and get into that now. Ugh, not good.
No, not good at all. And when you look at, I know a lot of our audience, spiritually minded type of people, many of you have probably had some awakenings in your life. Well, when people would change a name back in the day, it wasn't just to take a new name, like they were given a spiritual name by their guru.
Right.
But that only happened after the energy signature of that human being had changed.
Yes.
It changed into a new imprint. And so when you look at that person and you see them energetically, that is a different human being.
Right.
Like that's a totally different human there. And so it makes sense that they would give them a new name to recognize that.
It's kind of like we'll see clients or students or whatever and be like, oh, wow, you look totally different. And we're looking at their field. And you might notice this with some people in your life that perhaps they found more joy. Perhaps they've been, clearing blocks or just releasing negativity. And you see them, you're like, wow, you look great. I mean, definitely so many people that have gone through our clearing courses, they email me and they're like, my friends that I haven't seen in a year and a half just told me that I look so much younger.
Right.
And that's a cool thing.
Yeah, it's always good.
Yeah.
That's always cool.
Look and feel, more importantly, feel younger.
Yeah. And I mean, what do you say the biggest ways for people to do that are? It's definitely not in a name, but the name can make a difference.
Well, I think it's beginning to be aware of, it always comes back to this, everyone, how we think. How you believe about yourself will really determine your outer world because it's creating your frequency. So one of the biggest shifters is not just, thinking positive thoughts, because oftentimes you'll find it's difficult to do that. It's possible, very possible, but start making choices really, really carefully and wisely so that all your choices are in alignment with your higher self, divine right order. And how do you do that? You will know. You will know. We all know. We have that intuition piece, and just tap in and be like, is this really the right choice?
Right.
And don't ignore your intuition.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just always being congruent with your higher self, your full potential, or just in simple terms, the you that you really want to
be.
Your
full potential self. Your full potential self is you. So the other thing is, like, when those negative thoughts are coming into your head, worry, anxiety, stop and be like, if I'm in fear, if I'm in anxiety, if I'm in worry, I am in the non-existent future. So just be like, erase, 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 and replace it with an emotion of joy or love. And it just really takes being present to that present moment and, erase, erase, erase those thoughts, and then pull in love and joy, gratitude.
Yeah, making space. Like, it's really
making
just
space
about,
for that.
I think making space to allow more of that in to our lives. You know? And to that end, the question that I would ask to everybody is, what labels, what names, what nicknames, whatever it is, are you holding on to that really aren't congruent with either who you are or who you want to be?
Who you want to be.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, the more that we can weed out all of those labels, it opens up space for you to just be in your loving divine self, to be flowing much more naturally, and to just in the simplest of terms, just being joyful in who you are.
I love that.
Yeah.
Way to go, Dark Yogi. Oh. So for those of you listening, you might be hearing this podcast before we have a new name. I'm not sure. But if you have any ideas, send them to info@sourcemovement.com. One thing we're really excited about is we're launching our Illumination Academy, which is going to be just full of amazing courses for clearing and creating more light and manifesting, and just really awesome. So I know it has something to do with illumination, but we haven't quite landed the name yet. And maybe by the time you're hearing this, we are, and you'll be hearing about it. But in any case, we so appreciate you.
Yeah, we so appreciate you. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.
Namaste.